Better late than never. Welcome.
It's my favorite.
A little news on a Tuesday night.
Fucking Anton Lander.
I really like the back milk collar.
We just needed August to kick off, I suppose, huh?
Bag milk.
Yes, sir.
This is Cesus.
Okay, nobody cares. Let's just turn it down. We are going to get right to it. Of course, I am doing an emergency episode of the podcast on a Tuesday night because Ryan McLeod has signed a new contract with the Edmonton Oilers. Ryan Rashog from TSN breaking that it is a 2-year contract at $2.1 million per season. Looking at how things are going with the Oilers, I'm happy to see this got done. I'm going to get to your reactions as well. I'm getting a bunch of feedback on Twitter as well as on OilersNation.com. I'm going to read a couple of comments there as well. $2.1 million salary will still be an RFA when this is over with arbitration. The qualifying, it'll be a $2.1 million QO, 2 years from UFA eligibility. That is according to puckpedia.com. After the signing of Ryan McLeod, the Oilers currently have, if Bouchard signs, again, this is Puckpedia, and I quote, if Bouchard signs for $3.5 million or less, Edmonton can fit a 22nd player on the roster. If he signs for more, the max they can fit is 21. So I'm very curious to see how that works out with Evan Bouchard now that Ryan McLeod is signed. Again, it is for $2.1 million over 2 years. According to Puckpedia, the projected cap space on the Edmonton Oilers is $4.28 million with 20 players on the roster. That is 12 forwards, 60, and 2 goalies. The RFA is, of course, Bouchard. $4.28 million left on the cap. What are they going to do? You don't want to go into LTIR this year. Ken Holland kind of explained that earlier in the season. They want to kind of accrue cap space for the first time. Haven't been able to do that. Very much money in, money out. But if they can accrue some cap space leading into the deadline, we'll see what can happen. I asked you on Twitter or X.com or whatever the fuck it's called these days, what you think of Ryan McLeod's 2-year extension, again at $2.1 million. Max says anything below 2.5 for him is a good deal. The second year added is extra huge. If my math is correct, they now have around $4 million for Bouch if they carry a 21-man roster. Again, according to Puckpedia, that is $4.28 million. So Max, you're pretty damn close. Kay Cambridge says this has to mean Warren is gone, right? With Bouch still needing a contract, I'm not sure how we make it work. Nope. We're going to be okay. Again, provided that they might even be able to add 2 more players here, provided that Bouchard signs for 3.5 or less. Will he? Other players in his group have been around 3.75, so we'll see. Noah says, could have been way worse. I feel like we saved a ton of money here. Still a slight overpay in my opinion, but not anything to worry too much about. Michelle Boucher says, smart move for both sides. Significant pay bump for him. Great contract for Kenny. That's a win-win. Landon says, thought it would be a couple $100,000 more. If Ryan's happy, Ken's happy, then I'm happy.
Wait a minute. I thought we were going to get to live out our arbitration dreams again. You know that little bit we did a couple of weeks ago? It was super cute. I got to insult you. You were pretending you were doing a contract negotiation with Oilers Nation, and I was your boss, and I was telling you all the things that you need to do better, and all the things that you do wrong, and all the ways that you suck ass. Quite frankly, I was looking forward to that for Ryan McLeod.
Get out of here, Satan. We're celebrating here. This is a celebratory podcast, of course. It is the Ryan McLeod reaction episode of BLT, and we're going to keep this one at 10, 15 minutes. We'll see how it goes. Rusty says, Rusty the Reckless Optimist, of course, steal of a deal for Kenny Holland. Clowder is going to be a massive part of a deep playoff run. Love that from Rusty. Austin says, solid for both sides, well-deserved. Tyler says, second year is huge. Bert says, shows how overpaid Fogle is. El says, this is bad news for Warren Fogle. Man, Warren Fogle taking a lot of shrapnel. Again, I don't think that this has anything to do with Warren Fogle. Now, if they want to do something else this summer, outside of signing Bouchard, if they want to do something else, that's a different story for Warren Fogle. But as of today, August 1st, how about that? August 1st, we finally get some news. We waited all of July. We were talking about this nonsense, and then the arbitration day was coming up in a couple of days, and then they just get the deal done. That's how it goes, though. You don't want to, again, I don't think either side wants to go through arbitration. It's like, this is why I deserve more money. And the other's like, you don't deserve more money because you suck at everything. No, you don't want to do that. Just find a deal. Find a middle ground. Shout out to Kenny Holland. Again, if you missed it on earlier today on OilersNation.com, we were quoting Bob Stauffer's show today. Said he felt both deals are close, maybe within $100,000 or so. Deal got done later in the evening. Bobby doing a little bit of fortune telling. Bob Stauffer, that is. Yeg deal says fine with it as long as there's enough left over for Bush. I think there will be, again, according to Puckpedia, 3.5 or less. They can do 2 players maybe. Tally's dad says, I like it. Shane's dog. Shout out to Shane's dog. I always find it amazing when dogs can tweet. I'll decide after he's paired with Eichel next round. Stephen Fiddler says, considering the comparable contracts and recent ARB decisions, it's a fair contract that should leave them enough room to sign Bouchard and maybe $1 minimum value contract. That's kind of how I feel too. It's kind of how I feel. Looking over at OilersNation.com, the website. Zach had the article up quickly. Ed says, what is slightly above $2 million? I'm thinking 2.3, just above what the guy in Chicago got, and the same as Frederick. That leaves the Oilers about $4 million to sign Bouchard. So Zach got the article up before the details were out. That's how quick he is. But I'm going to go in and slap that Puckpedia tweet in there because it's got a full explanation on how this works. So again, if you're looking for some Ryan McLeod details, 2 years, $2.1 million. But if you got this far in the podcast, well, you already know that. Let's look at McLeod's season last year. I was very curious about this one because, again, Kurashev from Chicago, he got more money than this, and his points per game was lower than McLeod. Last year in 57 games, McLeod had 11 goals, 12 assists for 23 points. That is a career high in goals and points. In 12 playoff games, he had 5 assists, no goals. But this is a player the Oilers want. You know, we're still talking about a 23-year-old kid. He was drafted 40th overall in 2018. He is now just starting to figure it out. He has 138 regular season games, 32 in the playoffs. This is still a very, very young player. You know, this is still a very, very young player. And I've got high hopes for him. I think that there's still lots of room to grow here. Again, maybe if his hands could catch up with his legs, or maybe he just turns into a Todd Marchand. I don't know. I don't care. But at this point, I'm happy that this got done before arbitration because that would have just been bad for everybody. In 138 games played, Ryan McLeod has 20 goals, 25 assists for 45 points. Tidy little piece of work for Ryan McLeod too. Am I right? You know what I mean? $2.1 million out, 23 years old for the next 2 years. Whew, mama. I love it. I love it. I'm 38. And I'm like, I think I made $85 over the last 24 months. If you want a little bit of fancies on Ryan McLeod, last year he averaged 14 minutes and 11 seconds. He had a 53.9 Corsi 4 percentage, 47.6 on the ozone start percentage. So that means that most of his starts were in the defensive zone. Just under a 50-50 split, but the majority of them were in the defensive zone. The 53.9% Corsi 4, that's what everybody gets horny about. You know, he pushes the pace up ice. At 6'2", 207, at least that's what he's listed at anyway. You know, I think that this is a player that's still got plenty to go. He just seems to get better and better every year. This past season, if he had played the same number of games as he did in 2021-22, we're talking about career highs across the board. Again, he got career highs in goals and points. Only played 57 games compared to 71 the year before. If you are looking for, so his D-zone starts was 55.2%. 44.8% in the ozone. So his PDO 97.6. So, you know, could have got a little bit of help on the shooting percentage, a little bit of help on the save percentage, boost that up, probably around 100s where you want to be, but he's not far off. So I think this is a player that's really, really valuable. And I think that the Oilers did a good job of getting this done before arbitration. I'm going to keep repeating myself on that. You don't want to see it go on and drag each other through the mud, and then it just turns sour. Get it done early. Now let's get Bouchard done and let's enjoy the rest of our summer. You know? This from Handsome Rob. This is a great value signing to a small degree. Team friendly with Bouch still on the table. Frederick with Boston signed a 2-year, $2.6 million AAV, and Clowder had nearly higher output in 14 fewer games last season. Great deal for Edmonton as McLeod establishes himself into this core. Justin says, McLeod, 57 games played, 11 goals, 12 assists, 23 points. Costin, 57 games played, 11 goals, 10 assists for 21 points. Apparently one is worth $2.1 million per season and the other isn't. Head scratcher for me is Costin has more intangibles and did it with less ice time. So that one's from Justin. Justin comparing the McLeod contract to Klim Kostin in Detroit. Interesting comparison. Play different roles. One's a winger, one's a center. Centers are always a little bit more valuable, generally speaking. You know? But overall, I think this is a good contract for the Edmonton Oilers. I think that there's room to run. If there is something that, you know, pops up over the next while, this isn't a deal that is untradeable, you know? I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. And I guess that's where we're going to end. I read your feedback. I read McLeod's fancy stats. I talked about how I like it. Now what's left for Bouchard? Can the Oilers get him at $3.5 million or less? Can they get an additional 2 players, well, Bouchard included, on the roster? Under 3.5, yes. Over 3.5, no. 22-man roster would be nice. It would be. I don't think I'm being greedy. Of course, I want to shout out our friends at the Audio Department, Trill Joelfield Rentals, and Betway, provided that you are 19 plus and can do so responsibly. There's a reaction episode. Hit me up on social media. Hi, my name is Bag Milk. Share the podcast. I'm just curious your reaction to the Ryan McLeod deal. 2 years, $2.1 million. It's nice. I like it. Well, that's where we're going to wrap it up. We're going to keep it tight. 12 minutes of reaction. There you have it.
Tie, why won't you kiss me?